Morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, and Canada joins Rearm Europe for 155 million euros, and it's for our safety, comrade, says Mark Carney. I've got that for you midway through the show today because we've got some LA riots to talk about. We're starting there. Hospitals are over capacity in British Columbia by 130%. Why isn't anybody talking about it? Well, I've got a whistleblower who blew the whistle on CBC. I know it's weird, but we'll watch it. It's 2 minutes. It's interesting. Looks legit. And CBC's talking about the terrible state of our healthcare. Why do we pay so many taxes to our healthcare system? To sit in hallways and have substandard care? Yes, apparently. Modular housing, says Chrystia Freeland. That's their rabbit in the hat to fix the housing crisis in Canada. And well, the millennials or the people who are responding to this don't want to live in shipping containers, and that's understandable. And so the Liberals, well, this government is not legitimate. And I think I'm going to say that every day until this government's gone or until we get a legitimate government. I'm going to say that, but it's one of those things. What else? LA riots and the Marines. The Marines are being called in, and that's not surprising considering what's going on down in LA, the violence and things like that we've seen. Nokings.com, have you heard of this? And June 14th protest. So this weekend's Father's Day. I think it's also Donald Trump's birthday. Is that accurate? I haven't checked, so that's the rumor. And they are wanting to have a big protest on Donald Trump's birthday. And I've got the map of the organizations, and it's nokings.com, I think is what it is. I think I said that. But the organization is trying to organize, and indeed has organized, very effective big riots, and they're gearing up this week. So they're saying, oh, the LA riots are spreading. It's planned and it's coordinated, and it's supposed to be happening, culminating in a big crescendo on Saturday, the 14th. That's what's going on. So I'll show you that too. It's really quite interesting. January 6th versus the LA riots. Here is what the Democrats are saying is a peaceful protest, and I've got footage of them talking about that today. Gavin Newsom saying to Donald Trump, "Come and arrest me, bro. Arrest me because what's happening here is peaceful and everything's under control and there's no problem here." Here's a guy on the bottom is a guy standing on top of a police car with other burned out cars in the background. The police car he's standing on doesn't seem burned out, but other cars look burned out. He's posing, by the way. This is supposed to be an iconic picture, and it just looks like, I don't know, people play acting a little bit, people being paid $12,000 to be there, right? $12,000 a week for protesters being paid. That's pretty wild, right? But on the top is the January 6th insurrection. People got 20 years in jail for doing what they did on the top video. Nothing for the bottom video. No arrest at all. Here we go. Peaceful protest, burned out cars, insurrection, people walking orderly through a line. Do you know what this checkered floor means? Anybody? All right, we'll talk about that later. ABC Eyewitness News says 700 Marines ordered to assist in Los Angeles, expected to arrive over the next 24 hours. That was yesterday at 4:43 p.m. So the Marines are coming in, and we'll see more. I've heard up to 4,000 now, but I'm not sure. Here, honestly, don't believe your lying eyes. These are just some people having fun watching burned out cars.
A group of people, it could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers.
Having fun watching? Hold on. Is there a car burning somewhere? Get the kids. Let's go, people. We're about to have some fun. What? Hey, guys, there's a car burning over here. Let's go watch. Yay. Here is the U.S. Attorney Bill Essley, and he says, Alipio Ryan can run, but he can't hide. He threw rocks. So this is the guy who was throwing rocks. I showed the video the other day at the federal vehicles, and he cracked windshields and all that kind of stuff. He's throwing rocks, right? And so on Saturday, he was throwing rocks. That was a brazen attack caught on film that could have resulted in deaths. Rihanna, who's 40, is charged with assault on federal officers and faces up to 8 years in prison if convicted. The FBI is offering a reward of $50,000 for any information leading to his capture. So very interesting happening there. We'll see if he gets deported, or if is he a national? I don't know if he's a national or if he's a foreigner. But if he's citizen, if he goes to jail, we'll see, right? Very interesting. And one of the points that people were making about this was Embrace says, wait a minute, the Proud Boys were sentenced to 20 plus years for January 6th, including the leader who wasn't even there. And for this POS would get only a maximum of 8 years. Get out of here. Yep. It is a justice system that is completely corrupted. We do not have a justice system. We don't have a government. We have people in a secret society who are pretending to be the government. That's a meme from yesterday. So yeah. Nick says rioters are being given earplugs, gas masks, and water bottles to throw at police per Bill, this guy. Fox LA also reporting truckloads of bionic shields, which cost $60 each, are being delivered to rioters. There is nothing organic about this. Who's funding it? We know who's funding it. Come on, right? Same people who were funding everything that happened the last Trump administration. Hunter Eagleman says a video from a friend and Yucapian, California is not having it. It says, F your protests and your foreign flags, support your local ICE raids. So that's the overpass in California. Nick says rioters are now back to setting cars on fire again in Los Angeles while police watch. Gavin Newsom is 100% adding fuel to the flames, the LA Sheriff's assistant spokesman says yesterday. He's absolutely part of the problem we're seeing here. So this is a minute of this.
Now, so when are we going to crack down? What's the time to make that call?
That's a great point.
There's a fire now that's being set.
It is, and this is not the first time. This is called arson. This is a felony. This is an arson, okay? Every single police officer and deputy sheriff right now wants this to end. Because they swear to uphold the peace. They swear to put their lives on the line so that this does not continue. Unfortunately, the governor of California is 100% adding fuel to the flames. His rhetoric is one thing. What he says is one thing. What he does is another. He is absolutely part of the problem that we're seeing here. And so there is a lack of cooperation with the state of California and local officials. There's not our hearts and prayers go out to every single deputy sheriff right now that are just absolutely exhausted and watching this unfold. This could end right now.
If they stopped standing around and arrested the people who were lighting cars on fire in front of them. Right? So super weird. Here's Gavin Newsom. He says, come and arrest me, Donald Trump. He wants to be a high profile. This tyrant is taking down the legal leader of California, the legal whatever it is, of California. And oh my gosh, Trump is this really, really bad tyrant in history and we should definitely arrest him and so on and so forth. They're trying to play chess and Trump is, not taking the bait or letting Homan deal with it. We'll see. But here's Governor Newsom.
I mean, it's, again, sober and serious moment. Meanwhile, can I just add, and this is why I told the president, just get it over with. Arrest me. Move on. If you need some head to scalp, do it with me, but stop messing with these kids. Stop messing with 4-year-olds, kids in elementary school. We've got kids. We have hundreds of graduations down here. Kids are not going to their own graduations. Families, grandparents here legally, mixed status families in some cases, scared to death to go to a graduation. People are scared to walk down the streets. It's not just Home Depots getting.
When he says people who are scared, he's talking about illegal foreigners who've committed crimes by entering the United States illegally, despite the rhetoric of Gavin Newsom and President Biden and others like him, President Bush, President Clinton, all of them, right? So it's one of those things that despite that rhetoric, despite the pathways to freedom, the letter of the law is such that these people are criminals. They've broken the law and some done much worse than just crossing the border illegally, some much, much worse, right? And is that the fault of the children? No, but circumstances suck sometimes. Like you can't have a country like the United States and not have laws that back that country up. And sometimes you have to be mean and say, this is the line and no farther. And somebody says, well, this person's just on the other side of that line. And you say, yeah, well, see that line there and see the side they're not on? Sorry, maybe close, but no cigar. This isn't horseshoes or hand grenades, right? Like that's not our responsibility. And sorry, that sucks. But right, you can't have what the United States represents without having some hard and fast rules. just look what's happened to the United States when they abandoned those hard and fast rules. And so Governor Newsom is being disingenuous at best, right? By claiming that, the people who get here should be able to attend American celebrations with impunity and not fear retribution for their lawlessness. What? Like, do you even understand what it is to be American, Newsom? And I'm not American. It just seems obvious at this point in time that this guy is not fighting for Western style freedom, Western style individual responsibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he doesn't want borders. He's a communist, it seems, right? Because any sensible person would want borders strongly, strongly enforced to make sure these insurrections and terrible outcomes don't happen in their community. Meanwhile, he's saying, people are skipping their graduations? Well, like, people are having their cars burned. Like, what in the world?
In their car washed. We have incidences. I didn't believe it because what was I thinking? I actually believed when they said this is not true. But then I saw videos. They're doing checkpoints, checking people's IDs. We've never seen this kind of deployment in so many actions. It's mass panic.
I haven't seen those videos.
Out here in the nation's largest county, in the nation's largest state, good, hardworking people, decent people. These are not the criminals.
I don't know how you'd even reasonably do that. If you have a driver's license, like, give me your passport, like, it's one of those things. And illegals can get driver's license in California. So I'm not sure why I don't think a checkpoint would even be really all that viable. Anyway, I digress. Trump is asked about, would you arrest Homan? The helicopter noise is a little loud, but it gets better when he gets closer. So I'm going to turn it down. He says, I'd arrest him. If it was me, I'd arrest him.
He's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
Under budget, he says, under budget. No problem. Little railroad, totally grossly incompetent Newsom. And so he pivots away from talking about arresting Newsom to look at this pipe, or not this pipeline, this flagpole we're building, under budget, right? So he's not going to talk about that, I guess, right now. MJ Truth Ultra says, okay, let me see if I've got this straight. Illegal aliens, Antifa, and paid Craigslist protesters who are getting $12,000 for a week of protesting protest ICE arresting illegal aliens and decide they want to burn down the city while waving foreign flags. Then CNN, ABC, and every other fake news network is telling the world that it's Donald Trump's fault while running cover for the insurrectionists, telling everyone they're peaceful protesters. Meanwhile, Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass aren't enforcing the law, allowing the city to burn, blaming Donald Trump, and is suing the Trump administration for protecting the city and arrested violent criminals, and deployed the National Guard and Marines. Did I miss anything? No, I think that pretty well sums it up. That's pretty much what's going on. Here's Tom Homan, and Ghost Ezra says Tom Homan has a black eye. So that's not so good. Here's Tom Homan saying, we're not stopping.
Well, I'm saying leaving.
We're doubling down on these ICE raids. We're doing our job. We are going to make California safe again, Los Angeles safe again. Here we go.
Well, I'm saying leaving. Well, as a matter of fact, we got over 100 teams out today enforcing immigration law, and we're going to flood the zone. I've said for a month, sanctuary cities, you don't want us to arrest these bad guys that you just listed out. We could arrest them in the safety and security of the county jail, but they won't let us into jail. They release them into the community, which means we got to send a whole bunch of teams in the community to find this dangerous person that don't want to be found. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want: more officers in the communities and more officers in worksite. We can't arrest them in jail or arrest them in the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we're going to increase worksite enforcement operation. We're going to flood the zone. And based on what LA is doing right now, we're going to continue to flood the zones. We're going to be there tonight. We're going to be there tomorrow. We're going to be there every day in the next 4 years, arresting public safety threat illegal aliens. We're not going to apologize for doing it. So we're not going anywhere, Jesse. We're going to do the job the American people voted Donald Trump in office for. We're going to make America safe again, one illegal alien criminal at a time. And this is another reason we need the big, beautiful bill passed so we can hire more ICE agents, get more technology, and help us find these people. Look, we got over 20 million illegal aliens in this country. We got less than 5,000 deportation officers. We're outnumbered. You want more criminals taken off the street? You want more efficient operations? Then they need to pass this bill and fund ICE and fund the Border Patrol to keep President Trump's promise to the American people.
It'll be interesting to see if that whole BBB bill passes. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't like that very much. We'll see, though. We'll see. And I mean, I'm not even trying to take sides. I just look at the AI stuff, and there were some other giveaways in the bill that seemed egregious. Isn't quite strong enough, but yeah, it seemed too much. But what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? Here's Donald Trump. He's talking about LA. He says, if they spit, we will hit. This is a statement from the president of the United States concerning the catastrophic Gavin Newsom-inspired riots going on in Los Angeles. The insurrectionists have a tendency to spit in the face of the National Guardsmen and women and others. These patriots are told to accept this. It's just the way life runs, but not in the Trump administration. If they spit, we will hit. And I promise you, they will be hit harder than they have ever been hit before. Such disrespect will not be tolerated. Interesting. Spitting on somebody is assault. And if somebody understands that they will have consequences for spitting on an officer, that is probably a good thing. However, giving officers full carte blanche to assault people is probably bad. So there's a balance there. I worked custody. I worked children's mental health. Kids spit on staff. That was something that happened. And well, generally, you tried to walk away unless they were being violent, like more violent than spitting. So, but restraints happened for spitting and things like that. Well, restraints happened for behavior around spitting. If it was just spitting, not that, you wouldn't get restrained for that, I don't think. But if you were doing other violent things, then, and usually if you were in that kind of mental state where you're spitting at staff, you're doing other violent things, it would lead to a restraint. So it's one of those things where the language is that of somebody who's coming from very, very hard law enforcement, not from somebody who worked in children's mental health for 15 years. So that's my bias on display. Anyway, I digress. Here's Viceguard, and they say the anti-deportation protests have started spreading from Los Angeles to New York City. So in New York City, people are congregating and protesting federal buildings, federal immigration laws, and things like that. But it is not organic. It is absolutely being orchestrated with money, lots of backing, lots of cash. JB Sleer says, I had posted on a local communication site called Nextdoor the Democratic ad below. They welcomed those that were supporting illegals, but kept correcting my language regarding illegals and how ashamed these supporters should feel. After some 55 plus responses, the entire feed was shut down because it was offensive. If you have an account at Nextdoor, simply know it supports everything not American supported. And so here's a screenshot from an NGO, Nokings.org, displaying the planned riots through the country on June 14th. It also shows the NGOs that are being funded by our tax dollars. And I talk about the NGOs quite a lot. Safe to say this isn't over. We, the media. So this is the planned protests across the United States at this point in time. Every major city, and in Mexico. And is it happening in Canada? Yes, absolutely. It's happening in Canada. And if you thought different, you'd be wrong. In Canada, it's under the guise of the Palestinian March for Gaza thing. And that's been the excuse since Black Lives Matter ran its course, right? People were saying, oh, wait, they're money laundering. And so now we've got the obfuscation of the whole Gaza, Hamas, Israel thing to have the fog of war around all that. So nobody's digging into the money too much. It's just very emotional stories, and people don't like skepticism around emotional stories. They don't like hard facts around emotional stories. Anyway, Leviathan says a pro-Hamas protest is set to take place to coincide with the Formula One Grand Prix event in Montreal. Given how close these SPVM protects the terrorist sympathizers, we expect F1 racers to be arrested if they object to protesters getting on the racetrack. And that's a little bit much, but we'll see, right? It's scheduled for the 14th too. So all major cities and in Canada too, right? You see what I'm saying? And I think this is coordinated. And here is Data Republican. She says, note the name of the person who's holding the town hall for Nokings, Randy Weingarten. Not only is she the infamous Teachers Union president, but is also a board member of the National Democratic Institute, a taxpayer-funded subsidy of NED that was behind many of the tyrannical policies of the Biden administration and worldwide. And so she's QBing all of this. Very, very interesting. And the connection to Canada is that these protests are happening here. These pro-Palestinian protests are sanctioned events. The government is okay with them happening because they either push the division. There's a nice big wedge, and you can wedge people all day long with that. And so that keeps us from focusing on them as our problem, saying, hey, the government is sending our money to Ukraine, sending our money to Gaza and Israel, sending our money to anywhere but here. And we have lots of problems here. And at the same time that they're sending all our money abroad, we're bringing people here and we can't house them. We can't serve them. Our healthcare is collapsing, blah, 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 all these things. And this is what Anthony Housefather is focused on. He says, vandalism at the National Holocaust Monument is inexcusable. To desecrate the memory of the 6 million Jews and millions of others murdered by the Nazis needs to be denounced by each and every one of us. Ryan says, his same government keeps bringing in thousands of people who hate Jews. These are empty words. Now, again, like the whole dichotomy of poor Jews and bringing in Arabs to live here en masse, which is strange, right? Muslim Arabs who generally dislike Jews, bringing them here and then being surprised at all of the things that are happening. Weird. But again, it's a nice wedge. This guy, you would think, would want to stop the full-blown invasion of Canada, but no, he just wants to complain because, again, sanctioned events, and it keeps us from targeting them, the people in the government. Right? So we're fighting amongst ourselves about foreign wars, and they keep stealing our money to fund these foreign wars that we keep fighting about. And we don't hold them accountable at all for anything, ever. This is the same guy who was in charge during COVID. This is the same guy who was charged with removing campaign material from while door knocking. Like, just unbelievable stuff. And yet, right? We're too distracted to figure out who the actual issue is with. The government. Bumbadum says, Josh first says, my hunch is that it's not only mainly Mexican protesters, it's not mainly Mexican protesters flying the Mexican flag, just as most of the folks with the Palestinian flags aren't Palestinian. There are quite a few leftist activists always ready to take to the streets under any flag that isn't the American flag. And Bumbadum says, no, these are Mexicans. You won't understand unless you live here, but there's an entire second economy and nation of illegals here. The streets are littered with illegal taco stands and fruit vendors that are fronts for human trafficking organizations. The people protesting are 100% Mexican, and they know that they will lose if they are deported. So that's interesting, and I think that is interesting on the ground information that is hard to come by and you wouldn't know unless you know, right? Because I don't live in California. It looks bad, but I don't live in Vancouver. It looks bad there too, right? So here's Wall Street Apes and says, this guy's Mexican. And this guy is saying, we're against capitalism and we're against borders and things. Here we go.
We don't agree with the term illegal. We're undocumented. We've been here for thousands of years before you guys showed up, screw up everything. We think we should organize together with the U.S. working class and fight together and create a better system. We're anti-capitalist. We think socialism does work, real socialism, not Venezuela, not Cuba, not any of that.
Oh, see, the problem is communism hasn't been executed properly. This guy didn't do it. That's the problem. Holy cow. Supreme Leader, show us which way to go.
That crap that they try to sell us as socialism, and we believe it would be a more humane system that will take care of most of all people's necessities.
Is there a more humane system for most of us, just not you? For most people, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the problem, you moron. Some people. Here's concerned Canadian, and he's Mexican. He's an illegal Mexican who's claiming First Nation privileges. I was here long before you guys got here. Actually, you were born in Mexico, so no, you weren't. See ya. Concerned Canadian. You know that scene, Are You a Mexican or Are You Mexican? I was going to play that. I had it at the end, but by the end of organizing my show, the joke wasn't as funny. So... oh, well. Concerned Canadian says, is this your version in Canada? It's not mine. Fundamentally, Daisy I think this was Daisy's video, but maybe not because it's in Montreal, but there were Muslims praying in front of a church, and the church was like, you know what, F this, ring the bells. This is in Montreal, as far as I understand it. And isn't that interesting? People are getting sick and tired of this crap. Yeah. Ring the bells harder. Keep going. Right? So there you go. Very interesting. Do you see it yet? Because I sure as heck do. Let's talk about the invasion ongoing. In Denmark, says Keith, people of non-Western origin receive more cash benefits per person. This is actually higher among the descendants of immigrants who were born in Denmark, a fact that shatters liberal dreams of assimilation. So if you come from somewhere, you get one level of immigrant, like one level of support. But descendants of immigrants get, wow, a lot more, right? Like, pretty crazy stuff. Pretty wild. Active Patriot UK says massive disorder in Ballymena, North Ireland this evening. A migrant house has been set on fire following the rape of a child on the weekend. Thousands have taken to the streets tonight to protest in anger. Something is going to break, and I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not saying, look, but at the same time, do you expect people to stand by if a foreign army comes in and rapes their women? Right? Do you think that they should sit around and pay higher taxes to pay for the food, housing, healthcare, and the rest for people of foreign army who's going to come in and rape the women? Right? Like, do you think that they should? Because I don't think that they should. I think that the government is setting this up. And then when this powder keg goes off, they're going to say, look, these white people are dangerous. Right? And that's, man, I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like we're being set up. Yeah, here's Dacey's Media. So maybe this was from Mar Life. He says, church bells in Montreal ring out as a group of Muslims once again gather to pray in front of a church. Have Christians finally had enough? I wish Christianity was, it seems like with the Pope and with the stepping down of the Pope in 2013, and the replacement with Francis and all the rest, it seems like the institution of that institution has been corrupted just like all the rest of the institutions. And so, like, if I go into a church, I hear how it's virtuous to pay money to bring somebody from a foreign country, or I learn how it's virtuous to support LGBT or virtuous to support abortions. And so I'm confused because that's not Christianity as far as I understand it. And I'm not a good Christian. I'm not a devout person who goes to church all the time and knows my Bible back and forth or anything like that. That's not me. But I look at this and I think to myself, this is a corrupt thing that I wouldn't trust my plants with, never mind my eternal soul. You see what I'm saying? And so it's a shame that our religion has been so hollowed out, and that I look at it and I think the leaders of this religion must know. They must know, but they say nothing. And so let's have a Catholic school board that puts up the pride flag. Oh, okay. Right? And they say nothing. So what? Who is even the Bishop of Canada at this point in time? Where are you? Like, what do you think about anything? And then when they say, oh, it's super good that we're bringing all these people in and LGBT rights and stuff, it totally invalidates everything that they're supposed to believe. And so I look at that and think to myself, seems like it's been corrupted, like everything else. Let's talk about our healthcare. So Dr. Anna says, how come nobody's talking about the hospital overcapacity in BC? Some hospitals are running at 130 to 150% capacity. Hospitals running over capacity is dangerous. One nurse told me that they were told to start moving stretchers with patients languishing in the emergency department for days and weeks to the ward. She was told that it looks better to the authorities when a patient dies on a stretcher in a hallway upstairs than in a hallway in the ER. Ooh, optics, everybody. We've got to make sure that the powers that be are certainly aware that we really tried hard to, deliver care, but they didn't because they're totally overwhelmed and they can't. Here's Steve, and he's sharing this whistleblower, and I was skeptical because it was CTV, but she's pretty good. I think I've got this at regular speed. Here we go.
The system is failing. Frontline providers are not allowed to talk about it.
Emergency physician Caitlin Stockton is blowing the whistle, alleging the Fraser Health Authority threatened her job after she tried to warn patients the Eagle Ridge Hospital emergency room was at a breaking point.
The harassment and muzzling and silencing and bullying of frontline providers needs to stop.
On November 18th, 2024, doctors urgently asked Fraser Health for help, saying conditions in the ER were unsafe as doctors became overwhelmed. But their requests were allegedly denied.
We were doing everything we could to treat those patients. The people working on that day unquestionably went above and beyond. Some people did fall through the cracks, and it was horrible.
With the situation spiraling, doctors posted this sign calling the wait times unacceptable. Fraser Health later obtained CCTV footage of Stockton posting it and allegedly threatened to revoke her hospital privileges and file a complaint against her. Stockton says it's part of a pattern of silencing frontline medical workers.
This happens all the time. It happens to nurses, it happens to physicians, and this is why the public doesn't really have the full truth about what's happening in our publicly funded hospitals.
The lawsuit also claims the health authority has repeatedly ignored doctors' pleas for help, It says that after the deadly attack on the Lapu Lapu Festival in Vancouver, doctors at Royal Columbian Hospital asked Fraser Health to initiate a Code Orange, a medical protocol that allows hospitals to respond to mass casualty events. But it claims that request was also denied. Stockton says she fears patients are being failed by an overburdened system where medical professionals are punished for speaking out.
It feels like one of those dreams where you're screaming for help, but no sound is coming out. And it just drains the life out of you after a while.
She says the conditions she witnessed on November 18th are playing out in emergency rooms across Canada.
Knowing that you're not providing standard of care to somebody who really needs it is a horrible feeling. It's not the way I was trained. It doesn't feel right. It's not what patients deserve.
The suit also alleges Fraser Health has failed to deal with a string of violent incidents at the hospital. As recently as January, staff at Eagle Ridge were attacked by a patient wielding a machete. CBC News has obtained a letter signed by 50 emergency physicians across BC supporting Stockton's claims. She says,
if you had a letter signed by 50 former CIA heads or something like that, who said Hunter Biden's laptop is fake, you get action on that, right? The news is like, okay, it's fake. That is proof fake. If you get a letter signed by 50 ER physicians in BC that the healthcare system is collapsing and the ER medicine is collapsing due to all of these terrible things happening, you can ignore that safely, right? No problems there, guys. Just keep your eyes closed and your elbows up, right? Import third world, become the third world. Says, let's do our grab bag of governance. I've got a bit of time. I should probably cut the feed. Okay, I'm going to cut off I'm going to show you this and then I'm going to cut off the live stream. This is from Hamilton. Notice anything unusual or not, 2025 Hamilton, Ontario tax bill, $192 million for housing and homeless programs and Build Back Better. So as the city builds back better following last year's cybersecurity incident, the city is focused not just on strengthening its systems, but also on finding efficiencies and solutions that enhance services and improve the customer's experience. I think the Build Back Better really is that 3 6s kind of messaging, which is really, really weird. And makes me concerned for the big beautiful bill as well. Like, what's the messaging there? Why is it a big beautiful bill? What's going on with that? And I hate omnibus bills, right? A lot of people wanted the bills passed by Congress and the bills passed by the people who represent them not to be 1,000-page omnibus bills. Wanted them to be 1-page simple language. This bill enables blah. This bill is limited by this scope. Done. That's it. One thing, one piece of paper. You sign it, you vote on it, or you read it, you vote on it. There you go. But if you get a 1,000-page thing, right, a 1,000-page legal document on Monday, and you're voting on it Wednesday at 2, are you reading that thing? No. Are you even feeding that into AI? Do you have the PDF to feed it into AI to get the AI cracked version of what it's all about? Give me the Coles notes about this thing. You wouldn't even read the Coles notes. You'd look at it and be like, oh, gosh, that seems like a lot to read. 1,000 pages of Coles notes. My gosh. Yeah. So I don't know. The whole thing is ridiculous. And here's the adopted 2025 tax budget includes a total investment of $192 million in housing and homelessness programs. $192 million. What kind of potholes aren't being filled to provide housing and homelessness supports for who? Right? Who are we buying these housing and homelessness supports for? People who don't yet live in Canada? People who need to make up our new working class? This whole thing is very, very, very concerning. So lots more grab bag of governance and lots more show, but we've got to say goodbye to the stream. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will catch you tomorrow. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.